Hey y'all, welcome to Other Realm Studio. This is Paula, and I'm going to attempt to watch the chat on 3 separate channels at the same time. You may have noticed I wasn't really here for you last night, and I just had a scheduling conflict. So I'm not going to do Wednesdays anymore, but I think I can still keep up all the rest of the week. You know, unless there's some other scheduling conflict that comes up. But I will try and let you know about it more than a day in advance next time. Okay. Yeah, there's no way I'm also going to be able to monitor YouTube. I'm running out of monitor space. Alright, so I have no idea what I'm going to draw tonight. I don't know. I had a few ideas in mind. So let me see. Alright, well, let's put a little bit of ground in. Okay. So we might go with something four-legged again. I know we've done a unicorn. So let's try something a little bit different today. So let's see. I'm not even quite sure what I'm going to talk about tonight. Well, I'm very, very, very close to launching the Kickstarter. I may have said it before, but now I mean it more than I did that time. And yeah, so I've done a lot of different stuff, things that I didn't realize that I could do, that that turned out to not be that difficult after all, which was kind of interesting. One, I got a UPC code. Actually, I went ahead and bought a bundle of 10 UPC codes. So I had been listening to Peter Samedi talk about, you know, when you need a barcode and what kind do you need. He has an excellent kind of a tutorial on the various kinds of barcodes that you need in order to get on retail and newsstand and in a bookstore. So for books and graphic novels you need an ISBN, and I was already familiar with that because I had been looking into self-publishing, you know, for several years now, but it takes longer to write a book than it does to look into self-publishing. As it turns out, you know. So I already knew that an ISBN was horrifically expensive, especially for what I wanted to do. Yeah, they're $125 for one, and if you're going to buy one, you might as well buy a block of them. Because, you know, for one, you can't really make a living off of one book in any industry, really. And the other, they don't really go up that much in price. Yeah, you buy a block of 10 numbers and it's not that much more than just buying one. I'm not sure why. So that's the ISBN. I already knew about that. Right now I'm just kind of working out my creature. It's looking a lot like a regular deer. But deer are kind of magical on there, even in the regular world. So, let me see. Oh yeah, so we went over ISBNs. I already knew most of that information. I didn't know anything about the biped numbers that you need for newsstand. But I don't really want to go with newsstand anyway. And then we got to UPCs, which I didn't realize that you can have one UPC code, just buy one, and that's good for your entire comic series. And I also didn't realize that they're so cheap. I bought a block of 10 for $15. This is excellent news. So really, it's not that much more trouble to go ahead and get an ISBN. Well, it hasn't proven to be so far. I think if I'm going to make this a deer, it can't be that chubby. All right. I'm going to zoom in on this a bit more, if I can. There. So, so yeah, now I've gone ahead and bought an ISBN number, so my comic will have a barcode on the back. And you can't put it on the back if you're going through Diamond, but I'm not exactly thrilled with anything I've heard about Diamond. Monopolies are like that, though. Hey Dave, how you doing? Hey Connie, the deer is for you. I have only just now remembered to actually check all the chats that I'm looking at, or that I have up. yeah, you can, when you're publishing through Amazon or a small printer, you can take advantage of the ISBN blocks that they've bought that they will resell to you at a discount. But fortunately for comics, all you need is a UPC code, which costs $5 for one, or you can get 10 for 15, and that just sounds like a deal. So, also what's interesting is that it's the same kind of product code that you can put on products, you know. So I was thinking if I start selling, I could even start selling my Dragon Egg kits retail. So if I did that, I could just use one of my extra barcodes on them. Yeah, I've been wondering if I can compile the Soulbound series into a graphic novel once it's finished. I've been wondering what's going to be the best way to publish it after that. It's going to be a lot of pages, come to think of it. Because I'm going to have 10 issues. So I'm going to have 10 issues, and the fewest number of pages that they're going to have would be 20 pages, but it's not looking like that. I mean, I probably have 20 pages of comic plus some extra art that I'm doing for issue 1, Adrift. Which, yeah, I think that the extra art adds to the story. It should count as more comic. It's certainly not ads. So, yeah, I'll probably ask exactly how to compile things. You know, once I get further on the series, I know it can be done. That's probably all the information I need for, you know, the moment. Alright, let me see. That's quite cute. Although, I think I can make this a bit more lean. There's a story about a boy who was bewitched to turn into a golden deer. And his sister lived with him out in the woods, and every night he'd hear the hunters, and he'd beg to be let out, and she didn't want to let him go. But he couldn't resist trying his luck with the hunters. I'm going to neaten this up a bit. Now see, a horse is going to have like the bigger head and the more dished face, but a deer's head is actually quite angular. Yeah, I just need to focus on one step at a time and not get ahead of myself too much. Yeah, some things can wait until I come to them. Okay, come back to this color. I think so. I think I'm going to do antlers. It's just, they do take a little bit of thought because they generally have to be symmetrical. And I haven't decided how many points he should have. I'm thinking I should really try not to get too caught up in detailing this one. Maybe just a hint of color on him. Okay. Treed antlers. Yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah, it's so strange that deer would walk around with essentially a small forest on their heads when they've got to get through the forest. It's amazing we don't find more of them just stuck in the branches. see. I think I'm going to give him a bit more of a white tip on his nose. Like right here, a patch. So I have learned lots of interesting deer facts. Not only can you not breed deer in the state of South Carolina, but when they're neutered, they never lose their velvet on their antlers and they never shed them. So they just keep growing like cacti. And I've also learned about capture myopathy, which is interesting and scary. That deer are especially prone, as prey animals, to be literally scared to death. They'll die quickly from stress. Or from the stress of being captured. Even if they don't actually have an injury. I always feel like there's never a bad time for a PSA about if you see a fawn in the woods and it appears to be alone, leave it alone. It's fine. The mother is nearby, grazing, and is now scared to come back to her fawn because you're close to it. And she doesn't want to blow its cover. You wouldn't believe how many people just kidnap fawn. And also they're very difficult to care for. And not only do you deal with capture myopathy, but they need a specialized diet and specialized care. But people think, oh, I can raise Bambi all by myself. No. It takes training. So one of the things I love about living here is that I can see deer not very recently, but most days, if I'm up early enough, I can look out my window and see deer. So I've gotten kind of familiar. Mostly familiar with the proportions. Enough so I can do a pretty acceptable one just off the top of my head. That particular leg just now, though, that looked a bit horsey. Now, if you think horses' legs are fragile, deer are much more fragile than that. Hmm. The deer's like, I beg your pardon, I was going to eat that bush. Hmm. Hmm. Well, yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't turn into a running joke. Hmm. So I think if I can just sketch on him just enough to make him look shiny and golden, he can pass for being more of a mythical creature. Because deer really do hang on. Deer really are a focal point of many folklore traditions. Lots of fairy tales. I would not be surprised if a few did fall through a portal to the other realm. I mean, especially a golden one. So I'm going to try not to take as long on this stream as I've been. It's been a long day. Ran some errands. Got things done, I think. It's a little hard to tell if you've gotten things done when they get undone. Yeah, it's like the ultimate trophy. Yeah, there's a horse. There's a breed of horse, and I cannot pronounce its name, that gleams gold. It has this very metallic, shiny coat. I think the breed of it starts with a T. And it's really long. I think it's a Turkish breed. But, I mean, it's an incredible looking animal. So, that kind of shine on something like a deer would just be amazing. I don't have time to recreate that kind of shine on my sketch. Oh yeah, it's been a while since I've read the Narnia books. I did get them for my son, so he's probably read them a lot more recently than I have. But he doesn't reread, unfortunately, so he runs out of books really fast. When I was his age, I had to reread my books. I just want to zoom in on his face and do something with his muzzle. Okay. And put a little bit of this line back in here. And now I need a very warm brown. Is this going to work? It's rather dark. I think this one will. And along with deer, wolves are very important. So part of the mythology in the world of Soulbound is that it's a lot of lost civilizations and worlds and such. Including Rome shortly after the fall. So I have some Roman derived stuff, but it's evolved a bit, and yeah, in this era that I'm writing currently, the Roman, let's say the Roman Empire falls, some of the colonies get lost, and then about 100 years later is when, or 150 years later, is when my story takes place. So, time doesn't mean a whole lot. There's a bunch of different timelines that have been dropped into the same place. But Rome had its myth of Romulus and Remus being raised by a she-wolf, and they founded Rome. So probably wolves are still going to be important to the culture. even if there's going to be less of a pagan influence. Let me see if I can brush around some highlights and shadows. And yeah, make the eyes pretty. It's kind of turning into a theme with all my field guide sketches. Oh. Let me make that a little smaller. Okay. I want to touch up in here and do some more contrast. Yeah, I'm gonna have to brush up on my history a good bit more before I get too far into like the history of the peoples. You know, just to be sure I'm not straying too far, because I do have a bit of a base in the real world. But I don't want to rely on that entirely, and there's going to be interactions that wouldn't have happened in this world between various cultures that have been dropped in from different times from here. Okay, well, I'm just about happy with how this looks. And I think we'll just put some background on him, or behind him. We'll add another layer. I really like to use gray or bluish gray with yellow. I've got a nice, if I do say so myself, I've got a nice painting on my website. Oh, if I do not put a tag here, it's not gonna do. Okay. Okay. So now, let's see. I originally thought that the land would go this direction, but now I'm thinking we should put it the other way. So, well, it would help if I actually had the pen. Nope, not happy with that line either. Okay, I think I've got it. Oh, thank you, Dave. I think I'm going to echo the elements of the antlers here in the background. With just a few. So this is going to be part of the field guide for Other Realm Studio and all the different creatures in the Other Realm. Which, you know, might feature, probably will feature at some point in either Soulbound or a later story. And yeah, so I'm going to have a little bit of information about each of the creatures and whatever white space I remember to leave. And I'm going to have these as rewards in the Kickstarter campaign. I'll add a page from the field guide for every 20 backers, I think, who decide to, order the comic via Kickstarter. And I have pretty much decided that I'm going to start the Kickstarter on the 12th. This month. I am nervous to pieces. But I have almost everything in place. I've been, working with a draft of the Kickstarter campaign, and I figured out, the kinds of things that people can order, and it's going to be really easy because the Kickstarter platform is just really easy to use. And I'm pretty sure that it's also easy to fulfill orders from it. But it's another one of those things that I just won't really know until I try it. But it's a good platform. A lot of people love it. See, I think I'm going to erase this bit here, and I will probably lighten all these background elements. But it's not bad for considering that I came in today with no plan whatsoever. Oh yeah. Well, I've been so close to launching this thing for ever. But I think I've about run out of things to nitpick, so it's time to go. If I don't hurry up, I'm not gonna do it, ever. I'm actually running it as a quick starter campaign, I think. I still have to be approved for that, I'm thinking. And I'm only going to run it for 20 days. I mean, I figure at the end of 20 days, I should know whether or not I'm going to get the funds to print it. And, well, even if I don't, I guess I'll just have to I'll just have to dig a little more out of savings to get my print run. But I would really love to reserve my savings for getting issue 2. Okay, let me move this behind a layer, and that way I'll know where I need to erase out this. Alright, and yeah, I think that'll work. Possibly, I don't know, possibly the trees are a little too uniform. I'm going to make this one a little taller. So, yeah, I'm trying to keep the campaign simple. So at least there's a bunch of things that I do know that I know how to do. So shipping, for example, shipping used to be my job. I know how to pack things. I know how to get them out the door. And packed so that they'll arrive in good condition. So there's a skill I have. So that one I'm not worried about. Just I don't know. It's just a little bit scary to have my book ready to leave and be out in the wild and people actually reading it. It's all fun and games when it's only for me. On the other hand, I know that I have a story that I love. I mean, I love this story so much. I can't just let people not have the chance to read it. You know, I can't just... I've put so much into it, and I think that it can hold its own against, you know, anything else that's out there. I've worked on it this much, and I've actually had a good direction on it. And also, you know, I'm not the only one who thinks it's a good story. But it's just going to ramp up later, so... Alright, that looks really good. So what I've got is pretty much the classic Act 1 for the first issue. Alright, let me put a... shake out my rust and start the title. I still have not fixed my default setting here. Did something weird with it once. That's not what I clicked. There it goes. So it's a really fun story. And it just keeps on getting better. But the beginning of it, I mean, it does kind of start with a funeral. Probably not the most cheery intro to a series ever, but then things start getting very interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and delete my sketch layer. It looks very different than it started. And I almost forgot to sign it. Let me get on the right layer for that. Get my pen and my tablet out again. But yeah, there's so much that I love about my story and Soulbound and the whole world and Becca and Torin and everything. And I don't even know where to start. So I just really hope that people come check it out, love it as much as I do. Or, well, come close anyway. Okay, let's fit to screen. And there we have a golden stag. And I gotta go, but thank you so much for watching. It's been great talking to you. Thanks. And I'm just gonna keep this up every night as long as I can, except for Wednesdays. And I'm gonna try and hit about 9:05 or 9:10 every night instead of 9 o'clock on the dot, because you know the kids got to go to bed at 9 and they don't want to. All right, good night, Dave, and good night to everyone else watching. Thank you so much for keeping me company, and I'll see you in the other realm. Good night.